Hi, my name is Mark Hundley, and this is Live at 5, so welcome. I hope you've had a good day. I wanted to visit with you briefly today about something that I call the crisis loss grief chain. It's something that I believe we experience every single day that we live, and most of us are not aware of the dynamics of the crisis loss grief chain. But it happens all the time. And as a result, I really believe that every single one of us, every day that we live, is dealing with, in some respect, some large or small or multiple loss experiences every single day that we live. Let me tell you a little bit about what the crisis loss grief chain is. Every time we have a crisis, regardless of the nature or the intensity of that crisis, we experience loss because there's been change. Something has altered in the landscape of our world. When we have that experience of loss, there's an accompanying reaction of grief or multiple reactions of grief. So a crisis, loss, grief chain, it happens automatically, almost without our being aware of it. And crises can be either negative or positive in nature. You have a negative crisis, it's not difficult to figure out negative crises. In fact, we're in the middle of one right now. This coronavirus thing has us so discombobulated and experiencing all the negativity that we do that it's easy to point to those. But things like deaths of family members or friends, divorces, job losses, which there are a lot today, forced relocations or moving from one place to another, either by choice or by force. We're going to have health changes. There could be all kinds of things, even some small negative things like having a flat on your way to work could be a negative crisis that creates loss and experience of grief. But did you know there are positive crises in life also that create that sense and experience of loss? And you say, really? Positive crises? I bet if you and I could just visit one together one on one and you could respond to me, you could come up with some of those. But let's think about that. Graduations, job changes, you got a promotion, retirement is a positive thing that carries with it a sense of loss. Um, what about a wedding? Weddings are classic. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Alan Wolfelt, whom I believe is probably the grief guru of the world right now. And he talks about a crisis like this, a wedding, one of these crises, where people are both sad and happy at the same time. They're sad because they're crying. Things have changed, but they're happy because the people they love are getting married. They're having an exciting event happen in their lives. Whenever we have a positive crisis, we often wonder, how come I feel so sad, or how come I feel so empty, or how come I feel so all alone if this is such a good thing, if I'm retiring or taking on a new job or moving to a new place or getting married or having a baby. There are so many things that happen in life that have this crisis, loss, grief component to it. Lots of times when I'm dealing with clients, I'll ask them, and they walk in, they sit down, and I can tell they're distressed. And I say, well, tell me about your day. And they kind of look at me like, oh, great, Baldy, I'm going to pay you to tell you about my day. Well, let me tell you what happened. And so they begin to talk about getting up late because the electricity went off. The shower wasn't hot because the electric water heater didn't work anymore. They got in their car, and everybody else must have had the same thing because instead of being on the freeway in time, they're backed up at the freeway. So they lost the opportunity to get to work on time. They lost the opportunity to have the meeting that was going to pay them the bonus, that was going to pay for the trip that they were going to take this summer. So all of a sudden, in a matter of a few minutes, they've shared with me 5 major crises or medium crises that have altered the landscape of their life. And so they're experiencing loss, and they're in the middle of grief. It happens all the time. It happens to me every single day. And what I have worked to do for years now is to be aware of 2 different things. I've worked to be aware of my own personal grief talk, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. And I've been worked to be really aware of my thoughts, my feelings in my body, where I have a headache, where I have tension in my shoulders, tightness in my chest, where it's difficult to breathe, where I don't sleep well or I sleep too much, where I begin to question my purpose and my direction, where I wonder about how people, if they love me, if they care about me. All of these things are reactions that we've talked about before. But it's that checking of my grief talk. Whenever I hear myself say, I wish, or I can't believe, or I'm angry and I say something maybe I shouldn't, or that might be inappropriate, turn the air a little blue. Those are all indications that something is going on, that the landscape of my life in some form or fashion has been altered, and I'm struggling to deal with the aftermath. So the crisis loss grief chain happens every single day. It's something that if we become more aware of, we'll be better able to manage and be better able to not control, but to control our responses to it. So I'm going to ask you to just kind of be aware of your body, your feelings, your words. And when you begin to hear, I wish, I can't believe, I'm so angry, why is this happening to me, that you might be in the middle of a crisis, loss, grief chain reaction. And you might then be able to work to create a strategy to better handle that. Guys, this is a tough time for all of us. And I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate reaching out to you and having a chance to visit with you. I wish you a very, very good evening and a good rest of the week. Peace.